The reason that I'm having us watch this footage is because it's the first two couple of jams of Arch against VRDL at Big O, and I wanted to show a couple of things. Okay, so it seems like generally VRDL likes the back a lot, but in this we see them like right here. The jam starts, no one's really in the back. We see that Arch has a player here who's going to play offense. So one kind of standing back. But then let's watch what happens when the jam starts. So boom. So both teams drop back into the back wall position. And then what we see, it's kind of hard to see, but here's the VRDL blocker, and here's the arch, jammer, and here's the arch jammer. And so if you see, we have the very traditional VRDL sending one up, and we also have one of the arch players playing back. And because of what VRDL hopes to do and can do with splitting the pack, this is something that we really need to pay attention to when we play both teams. Okay, so check this out. This arch player tries to stay in there and tries to keep on helping get her jammer through. And that's a good idea, but it's also a risk if this jammer was making better headway. So because the pack is here and neither team has gotten that far apart, this person playing offense and staying in there isn't a big mistake. Now, do you see how the VRDL jammer isn't really going anywhere? The arch jammer isn't really going anywhere. So again, that means that arch is here. We can't see them, but arch is here, which means that no one's in threat of being further than 10 feet apart. But because of the strategy that both teams are playing, because Arch chose to leave one back playing offense, and because VRDL chose to send one up to play offense, we can't see their offensive player, but she's up here. That means that VRDL can absolutely 100% take advantage of the split pack strategy. So watch this. So do you see here, as separation starts to happen between VRDL and Arch, Arch gains the back territory here, and VRDL starts to get pushed up. Watch what this player here is doing. Do you see how their offensive person drops out of the offensive play and becomes part of defense? And this isn't just so that they have more bodies on the jammer. This is strategic so that this player here doesn't help to split the pack. So check this out. Okay, so we see quickly VRDL does a turnaround. They get their player out, and then Arch goes forward. They don't come with her, and boom, jam's over. So now let's watch the next start. Okay. So we see both teams are in the back. We see that VRDL didn't like losing lead, so they're actually going to start in the front. And we're going to see that VRDL has one offensive person here. Okay, so just to let you all know, when the front wall has one offensive person play in the back, they are essentially possibly gifting our team a split pack. Okay, so whenever we're starting back and the opposing team is starting up, I'm going to highly recommend that if they drop one back into our formation, that we say something like, get ready to push to 11 or something like that, because that's exactly what this jammer here needs to do with her hopeful offensive person. They need to push until both of those formations, the 3 and 1 and 3 and 1, get separated to 11, because then we'll have a split pack, and that's how we get our jammer out. So right here, we see that Arch is starting back and staying back for the most part. And then Arch had let's see where their fourth is. Okay, so this is the mistake that Arch just made. So let's go back for a second. So check this out. Everyone's here. Everyone's like a jumbled mess, right? Boom. VRDL's player is moving backwards. Their jammer is moving backwards, and separation starts to happen here. But because, do you see how this jammer is running up? If we're going to use the split strategy, what this jammer would need to say to her offensive person is stay in here and push it to 11. Because watch this, the separation and distance is making it so we could have a split pack if the Arch players stay. I know they don't look like they're in a great position to do that with two of them on their knees. But if this player here drops into D, but then this player here goes and plays O, then ideally they might actually get a split pack. And instead they're getting a pack is all because this player here drops back to bridge, goes back to help. So this is just something that we need to be super aware of because we can really utilize those moments where we can split the pack without getting a penalty and take advantage of getting lead. But both of the players get out. So we'll just watch this run through for a moment. VRDL sets up in front when there's not a lot of space between the two jammers. VRDL gets 1, Arch gets 0. Okay, so again, here's VRDL in the front, and it looks like both teams have. Okay, so what's important about this too is also taking note of if both teams have 4 on the track, because splitting the pack is doable when both teams have 3 on the track, but it's not really something that you do when there's uneven numbers of players on the track. Okay, so here we go. So this is interesting. So see where it is here. It makes sense for VRDL to keep an offensive player up because they're the ones that getting lead, but it would absolutely, absolutely not make sense for Arch to send one back right now for a couple of reasons. One, if she did that, she would split the pack. So it would be her fault that there's no pack, so she would get a destruction. But two, say that she was able to go back before there is so much separation. So say that this player here was able to go back there to help out and she didn't destroy the pack by doing it. That would just be an awful choice for her because this is so close to being further than 10 feet apart that if she goes back when there's like only 8 feet, maybe she doesn't get a destruction, but then all that this offensive player has to do with her jammer is just push up until they get to 11 feet or even 10 and a half feet from the opponent, and there's a split pack situation. Boom, that jammer gets lead. All right, so when our jammers are stuck in situations like this and we're thinking about things like we need to get the star moving, or we're thinking about things like we need to go back and help her, we need to absolutely be aware of how many players on the track. If it's even numbers and they have one up with us, we absolutely can't send one back because, again, that's a free ticket to their jammer getting out. All right, so hopefully that's enough jams to kind of see what we're looking at. Now we're going to go ahead and pause the video.